Mr. Charles Cook. We'd like to thank you and welcome you for speaking with us today at the MOBE Symposium for 2019. I'd like to ask you a few questions in regards to your work within the minority business opportunities, as well as networking and some of your other pursuits that you're currently engaged in.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure being here. It was a pleasure meeting the people here. And actually, I started out teaching in Newark at Webster Junior High, and I was one of my first teaching assignments. And right now, years have went on, and I actually have the Delaware Valley Home Journals, where I own 4 newspapers in the Delaware Valley. I'm also the co-host of the Stan Matthews Broadcasting.
Okay.
And
Where is that?
well,
where does it broadcast from?
it broadcasts from North Jersey, Philadelphia, Wilmington, Delaware, Washington, D.C., and now Virginia.
Oh, that's a nice spread there,
Yeah.
sir. So let me ask you, what is it? What is the premise of that particular show?
Well, basically, the expansion of it has grown. You come on a show, and I'm a host,
Okay.
and I'll find out about you and your business.
Oh, vice
And
versa.
Yes, and I'm able to talk to you and let people know your business, a little bit about your business, and how they can get in contact with you.
Okay.
And then I can put a commercial on the Oprah Winfrey Network,
Okay.
Channel 7
Yes.
in the Delaware Valley.
All right.
But Oprah, whatever station it's on in Philly or
Right.
North Jersey or D.C., and highlight your business.
So how do you come into that connection? I have to stop. I have to pause and ask you. How do you come into that connection with the opportunity to put a commercial on Oprah's network?
Well, through the Matthews Broadcasting. They can also put the phone app on.
Okay.
So a person can come on the phone app with your commercial, and you can't opt out.
Oh, isn't that Marvy? Now you're also so aside from being a co-host, you're also marketing director for Matthews
Yes.
Broadcasting. So in what capacity is that? What is that? Because we're also looking to teach folks about certain different positions and things of that nature.
Well, for one thing, being here, across the street at Park Avenue,
Yes.
I was a marketing specialist.
Okay.
And I ran an office in New York on Park Place. I ran an office on Fifth and Chestnut, and also Park Avenue in Newark.
Yes.
So I used to train all the salespeople,
Ah. What were they selling?
everything. No, basically tangibles, and with that, also phone sales and this,
Okay.
that, and the other. I remember every position I got in phone sales. If it was an 8-hour job,
Yes.
I'll be out of there in 3.
Yes.
All right.
Meet the quota.
Communications, everything.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Yes, it is. What is one of the? Give me 2 to 3 of the most important skills in that regard for customer service or phone sales, because it's really becoming up and coming now. You know, it used to be when we did phone sales, because I did telephone sales as well. It was specific markets, but now everything is telephone sales. You get a phone call regarding any type of product now.
Well, basically, salesmanship.
Okay. And when you say that, what do you mean?
You create a desire and fulfill the need.
Okay. All right. Now, let me ask you this. How important is it to know your product?
Very important. All right.
You can't be reading out of a paper book,
yeah,
can you?
are. No. You put together an understanding of their sales pitch, and then you put your own formula in it. Just like how Whitney Houston sings that song,
Yes, yes.
but she sings it better than anybody else. All
Right.
right. So that sales pitch, you get it together like that, you're going to do it better than anybody else. Okay.
All right. Okay, now, because you are a man of many different talents and activities, even currently to
Well,
this day.
basically, I'm also an artist, and I'm also a griot
What
and
type of
storyteller.
art?
Fine artist.
Fine arts.
Yeah. So, I've taught fine art for over 30 years.
All right.
And I'm also a griot and
Okay.
a storyteller. So I've been performing for over 35 years.
Beautiful. Is there any particular types of stories that you prefer to
Stories
speak
from all
to?
around the world.
Okay.
All right.
Now,
It's like food for the mind.
now that's very important to me because the oral history aspect of storytelling. That is one of the few things that that cannot be destroyed if it's used properly. You
Well-
can burn paper, you can wet a book, you can lose a track, but what you hear from mouth to ear.
They will remember what you said. I remember I was speaking at a lodge, a Masonic lodge, and what happened was one of the brothers' kids came up to me, and he said, "You're Mr. Cook, aren't you?" And I was yeah. So what happened was in Camden, I had a storytelling session. They ran it all summer on the educational network.
Okay.
But he turned around. He said, "You know what? I remember what you said. All right." And I was like, okay, you got it.
Yeah, that's
all
very
right?
satisfying,
You got
isn't it?
All right. But yeah, just like me, my father was from Jersey City.
Okay.
And, well, actually from Selma, Alabama, but he was in Jersey City all his life. So I went to go take care of him. Went to go get him from Jersey City at 91. But he was a renowned poet, well known for his poetry.
Okay.
All right. And we had a number of times where we performed together. All right. My storytelling.
That's got to be very satisfying.
People were sitting up there trembling. My God.
Yes.
You know, but he was phenomenal. He had a phenomenal memory.
Okay.
But then I remember one time I did a storytelling session in Jersey City at the Greenville Library. They said, "Mr. Cook, we want you to do 2 hours."
Would you say the second cook is in here?
So, but when I prepared for the 2 hours.
Okay.
All right. And again, people were just sitting there awed, you know, behind the memory. But memory, I always watch them when they get a little bit older.
Yes.
You know, they keep it sharp. But my father had a phenomenal memory. He said, "But son, I don't know if I could do my thing for 2 hours." All right?
Yeah. That's a long time.
Right.
That's a long. Did you have an intermission?
Oh yes, I did.
Oh.
Yes, I did. But you know, it's a part of me that I really, you know, love the storytelling.
Okay.
You know, and getting back to the kids.
I think it's very, very important. The ability to engage someone one-on-one, you know, through an oral and audio.
It stays with them.
Yes, it does.
You know, it doesn't leave them.
There's
Because
a
now it's a
serious
new walk,
connection
it's a new understanding. Now you have
Right.
a whole understanding, a different of life itself.
there. So, and you know what I also believe is that when you're speaking to an audience and you're telling them a story, that it's the engagement is on a different level.
Yes.
And it's not personal, it becomes private because it's like the imagination from the words and the adjectives and how you explore the story.
When you know, I would tell a class, sometimes I've been through juvenile justice,
Yes.
been through the libraries, the schools, the colleges, and this,
Yes.
that, and the other. But, and I would normally say, just as little kids, look here, while I'm talking,
Yeah.
nobody should be talking.
Yes.
And then you're ready to deliver,
Yes.
and they take it all in.
Yes, I'm the same way when I do my teaching and things of that nature. I find that to be, and if you say that though, you need to come correct.
Right.
Because if you don't catch their attention after you quiet them down, you've lost the ball game. You might as well just leave the stadium.
I remember one time I had this class. It was in juvenile justice, and I thought I was getting bad boys.
Right.
I was getting bad girls.
Right.
All right. Bad girls showed up. All right. And sure enough, you know, I just prepared a
Yeah.
story to tell them. And after the story, they were just silent. They just looked. You know, they didn't know how to neither congratulate me,
Right.
but they also understood what I said.
Right.
All right. So they just sat there and, okay, man, that's so nice.
And it was probably something that was overdue, that kind of engagement with them. Because you know what I find is with all of this modern technology and things that we have these days, is that it does take away from our person-to-person engagement.
Well, that's something with the generation. They don't really touch each other person to person. We used to remember telephone numbers. We don't do that anymore. All right?
And that bothers me.
Oh, it bothers me too. All right.
I'm a little embarrassed sometimes.
But I can't. So I try to remember as many things as I can.
Yeah, fair enough.
But other than that, that's it. So it's all kind of other ventures. As I said, in Camden, the radio station took over a school. So I'm working as the assistant dean of curriculum.
Okay.
So that I can have some historical, spiritual classes, so you can understand a little bit more in reference to that. Also,
can I ask you this? And I'm sorry, because I've worked in the field of education, and I was apparently sat on the coordinating curriculum council for many years, and for the school district. So I want to ask, with that type of power in your hands, which it is, being in a position to influence or develop the curriculum that is to be taught specifically, what is it that you want them to leave at the end of that semester or school year with?
I want them to have an understanding of self.
Okay.
I want them to have an understanding of miracles.
Yes.
Because one thing is that a person said, do you believe in miracles? Do you believe that this can happen? All right. And the person said, no, I don't know. I want you to say, look, anything that you believe that you can do, that you can accomplish, I want to take it from here and I want you to start learning it right now.
Okay. That's so very important.
Yes.
And I appreciate you for that, because not only did I work with the school system with K to 12, I also worked with adult education and developed a program.
I worked in juvenile justice. In fact, I had one class that I just came in, and the kids were just so bad because they've been kicked out of every school in Camden.
And they
were
had
kicked
no
out.
expectation.
Right. So I knew I was going to get cussed out every day, but I knew I was going to give them what I got.
Right.
And then what happened was they came back and said, "Coop, they said that you were here for us," and like, I believe you. Nobody else will take that stuff that you would take it.
Yeah.
But other than that, they were like my babies.
Yeah.
And I know how, to work with kids and teach them and totally always give them something.
So you say that you're owner of the Delaware Valley Press, and so that has 4 different publications. What are they?
Well, it's the New Chester Journal,
Okay.
South Jersey Home Journal,
All right.
and then I'm putting one out for the Matthews Broadcast Journal,
Okay.
and then there is a WMCM Media Street Journal.
Okay.
So,
Now, what kind of information is
well,
contained
business-
in these journals?
Well, South Jersey Home Journal is business, community,
Okay.
family. And New Chester Journal, same thing, business, community, family. And then the Matthews Broadcasting is business.
Okay.
And the one for the radio station, it's a combination of things: youth development, youth understanding, different programs that the community needs to know a little bit about. That is never in print, but now you can put it in print.
Right.
So and then all the publications will be not just in print but online also.
So I need to ask you, because you are very immersed in the media aspects, the very important ones, the parts that produce the information that is actually out into the streets. How important is media for the African American community?
It's everything. It's everything. All right. One thing is that we have to look at the avenue of the worth, and that's the reason why I'm working with the Matthews Broadcasting. If you're talking about on this side of the East Coast, you're talking about over $1 billion worth of spending power in the African American community. All right. Now you have 24,000 over here, 38,000 billion, 24 billion over here. 38 billion over here. And so it's a combination of almost $200 billion, but we only spend 2% of that with ourselves. So let's just say we move the knob
Right.
to 1%.
Right.
Let's just say we move the knob to another 1%. All right. Then from there, you're not talking about 1%. You're talking about millions. And that's the way we have to look at our communities, our communication with each other, and what we have to enhance and make that happen. All right? And the only way that I see we can do that is through communication through the air, communication through the radio,
Yes.
and communication through the hand, touch, and feel.
Yes.
So you can, and you got all three communication elements. That's the greatest thing that you can possibly have.
Okay. All right. Now, I would also like you to give me two messages. One to those who work within your industry. And now I'm going to double up on your industry because I'm going to use the media with the education piece. And how can our media educate our communities more effectively? I mean, if you were media king of the world and had everything at your fingers, what advice or what would you do? How could you use it? I know that's kind of like a...
Well, there's a lot of things that would take place with that answer. One thing is that, understanding work. Okay? Now, I might even do a storytelling for you. Here we go. There was, this is the story, a reason why a man got to work. Said a long time ago, the sky wasn't up in the sky was real close to man. Man didn't have to work. The only thing man had to do was reach up at the sky and take a piece of it and eat it. But man didn't want no little piece of anything. Man wanted a great big piece of everything. So he used to grab these great big chunks of the sky. And all of a sudden, there was pieces of the sky all over the land. All of a sudden, the sky said, man, now, anytime the sky started talking to man, man gets scared, right?
Right.
Man said, yes, sky. And he said, you have to stop being so wasteful. You just have to take a little piece at a time. So for a little while, man went back and started taking a little piece at a time. But you know what? Man went back to his same old ways, grabbing those great big chunks of the sky.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, the sky came back. He said, man. And a man said, yes, sky. He said, I thought I told you to stop being so wasteful. All right? And man said, yes, sky. And sky said, man, I'm going to punish you. And the next thing you know, the sky started to lift itself up so high the man couldn't take a piece of it anymore. And that's the reason why man has to work. In order for us to get to what we need, we have to work. I go from the classroom to so forth. I don't have to understand. You have to understand the meaning of work. A lot of times we don't understand, even as grown-ups, the meaning of work. There is a work that has to be done with us, all right?
Okay.
And we have to look towards that work and getting it done.
Yes. And
in
the
media
pieces that we
on
grab, don't
right,
squander them.
that's it. That's it.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, the next message I would like for you to leave would be for our youth. And I would like for you just to speak to what is it that you like about education that you keep coming back to it and trying to teach them?
Well, okay. Here I go back to my father. Esmeralda was one of my favorite poems from him.
Okay.
He said, there'll come a time, I know, when we will take delight in one another. Each will be a star to the other. Each will listen to each other like music. And those that live that life shall be great, because it will be free of malice and greed. And then what happens? You will live your life until your life becomes a dream.
Much love.
Much love.
Much love. Okay, so what I wish for you, sir, is a successful term as the
You know,
Assistant Director of Curriculum.
I'm just going to handle it.
I understand, but you know what? Like, uh, it appears to me that we have similar goals in that regard. And anytime we step into the field of education, we understand our responsibility to those youth. And so that I know that you take a lot on your shoulders with that regard and look for the absolute perfection in that regard. And continue to do so, by the way. I'm not pulling that pressure off of you.
Thank you.
But I'd like to be able to really thank you for that and your pursuits. And for the length that you have gone to have your presence in the broadcasting and media world and the positive presence that it has been. And we certainly wish you continued success.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time here today as well.
Thank you as well.
Most appreciative. Mr. Clark.